Good morning. Welcome to Grandma B's Busy Life. I'm Brenda, and today is another episode of Slow Down and Drink the Coffee. I'm so glad to be able to do this today. I didn't do it last week. Last week was a super busy week and I wasn't feeling well, so I didn't take time to slow down and drink my coffee. So today I am just going to sit down and drink my coffee. And today I have pumpkin spice again and hazelnut creamer, which is such a great combination. It sometimes makes me wonder why we have like hazelnut and almond creamer. We don't have peanut butter or peanut creamer. I don't know. It sounds like it would be delicious, right? I don't know. I also have some homemade cinnamon toast with homemade apple butter on the top. Today I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about one little part of my life, and that's my work history. I just had a change in my job, and so it just got me thinking about how did I get to where I am now. And in fact, I got asked that yesterday. You know, what led me to where I am now? So it started probably when I was 5, maybe. I cannot remember a time that I have not wanted to be a teacher. My entire life. The only thing I ever wanted to be when I grew up was a teacher. And the reality is most people don't grow up to be what they really want to be when they are little. And I did. I grew up to be a teacher. And I got to every single day get up and live my dream job. And I loved it. I love teaching. I love working with kids. I love everything about helping kids learn and grow. And I started, my very first job was in a daycare, and I took care of the after-school kids. And although I wasn't teaching, it was the elementary age kids, and I loved it. I've had various other jobs throughout my life. At 21 years old, I had been married and divorced twice, and I had 3 kids. I had made choices in my life that had put me in that position, and I knew that I may have to raise these kids all by myself, and that I had to do something that made it so that my income provided for them. I was currently on public assistance and knew that I didn't want to continue that cycle for my kids. I wanted to use the welfare system for what it was intended for, and to get back on my feet and to provide for my family in a time when I couldn't. But I didn't want to do it forever, so I went back to school. And when I went back to college, I started with airline mechanics. And I started there because I knew it would make me enough money, but I hated it. I hated it. And so I started to pursue other things. I thought about being an accountant, and I was all focused on making enough money to provide for me and my kids. And what I found was the classes that I took that revolved around education or child development were the classes where I was happiest. So I decided to do what I really wanted to do, and I started taking education classes. And obviously it took me the full time to get my degree. Actually, it took me 5 years to get my 4-year degree, and I'm okay with that. I was a single parent, and I was working 2 jobs besides teaching, 2 part-time jobs. I worked at the bookstore at the University of Utah, and then I was also a resident assistant. I managed the group of apartments that I lived in. So it was a lot of work, but I'm so glad that I did it, because I was, like I said, I was able to do my dream job for every morning. I got to get up and go do my dream job. So I've taught a variety of things and a variety of levels. I started my career in Utah and taught elementary, and then went through a divorce and my kids and I needed a major change. And so I moved to Kentucky. And while in Kentucky, I taught English as a second language exclusively to students who moved to the United States and did not speak English. And I had students from 16 different languages. Most of my students were either from Mexico and spoke Spanish, or from Cuba and spoke Spanish. I had quite a few, though, also from Afghanistan and Sudan, and both of those groups of students were refugees. So I had, plus I had lots and lots of other languages and cultures, and I loved that. Then I wanted to be closer to home, so I moved to Idaho, and I taught for a couple of years in Idaho. And then I moved to Vegas for Grandpa B. I met Grandpa B while I lived in Idaho. He lived in Vegas, and when I knew that he was different, I moved to Vegas to be close to him, and I'm glad I did, because he is truly my perfect match. He's amazing. But I taught in Vegas for 8 years. While teaching in Vegas, I started out in the elementary schools, but I got almost tricked by a principal into teaching middle school. He offered it to me and kind of talked me into it, and I was afraid of middle school. They're so hormonally impaired, and I thought only crazy people teach middle school. But tell you what, I loved middle school. Absolutely loved middle school. I love the awkwardness of the kids, and I never took it for granted that I was part of their lives during a time when they were deciding who they were independent of their parents, and they were deciding what they believed, what they wanted with their lives, what direction their life was going to take. And how cool is it that I got to be part of their lives while they were figuring all of that out, and I never took that for granted, and always felt honored that I could be part of that. And I loved middle school. I loved everything about it. I wasn't sure that I wanted to teach science. I taught middle school math and middle school science, and I wasn't sure I wanted to teach science. I've never loved science. I do now, because I wanted to share excitement with kids. If the teacher's excited about learning, the kids are often excited about learning. So I really dug into the science and love it now. Love science now. So while I was teaching in Vegas, I was also using a program that helps students, that helps teachers identify learning gaps and then helps fill those gaps with a personalized program. And one of the trainers was talking, came in and was working with us, and at the end of the, well, let me back up for a second. At that time in my life, I was looking for a change. I knew we were moving to Utah, and so I knew I was going to have to change jobs anyway, but I've been wanting to get out of the classroom, but I didn't want to get out of education. So I Googled jobs for teachers who don't want to teach, and that's word for word what I Googled, and I found lots of great jobs. And at the time, the zoo here in Salt Lake City was hiring an education director, and I thought, oh my gosh, what a cool job. But I would have had to start before I could leave Vegas. I didn't end up applying for the job. But had I already lived in Utah, what a cool job to be in charge of professional development for teachers, revolving around the zoo, being in charge of field trips at the zoo, all of the education at the zoo. How cool is that? I didn't apply for that job, but wouldn't that be cool? But when this trainer came, I started to think, wait a minute, he said he used to be a teacher. This is something I could do. And it's a changing career, but it's still in the education field. I can still use my expertise. I can still make a difference for kids and still help kids move forward, because I saw what the program did for my kids, so I knew that it was a program I could get behind. So I just started asking him questions. He sent me a link to apply, and I got the job. And I now teach teachers. So I go into schools and teach them how to use our program and how to use the data to then drive their instruction in order to help them fill in those gaps and scaffold for kids. And it's a different perspective. I'm not working directly with kids, but I'm still having an impact on kids and their learning. And I'm helping teachers use the information and the resources that they have to be better educators. So that's fun. And I just got a promotion with my company. I was working part-time at will, meaning when they needed extra trainers, I worked, and when they didn't, I didn't. And I wanted to be full-time for lots of reasons. The two main reasons are I needed a full-time income. I needed the consistency of knowing that I was going to have an income, because during the slow times, like during spring break, there's not a lot of work, and so I wouldn't work, and then I wouldn't have an income during that time. And although I made it financially and I did okay, I wanted consistency. But the other reason is, as a full-time employee, I have an impact at the district level, so I partner with districts and work with them to build a plan for their data and instruction and professional development moving forward. And that's really cool to me too, to build those relationships at the district level. I still work for the same company, so I'm not a district employee, but I work in partnership with the districts. I'm not sure what my path will take from here out, but right now I'm in a really great place in my career, and I'm really looking forward to the challenges and the new responsibilities that this job is going to bring. It feels a little uneasy. I can relate to students when they struggle learning something new and they feel uneasy, and the student in the class that doesn't want to raise their hand and they're afraid of giving the wrong answer. I feel in that place right now when I meet with my colleagues, my other full-time colleagues, and they're saying things and I have no idea what they're talking about. And I try to just smile and nod and ask the question when it's appropriate, and figure out who's the right person to reach out to ask questions. I've never been afraid to ask questions, so I'm asking a lot of questions right now. I'm not afraid to not know, but it's still an uncomfortable place to be. So I'm excited about that though, because I'm sure that I'll have some great growth professionally as I move forward. So that's it. I'm a teacher, and I have been a teacher since the beginning. Since I started my career, I've just always wanted to be a teacher, and I love it. So 3 things. What did you want to do as a kid? What do you do now? And what would you do if you could do anything? Thank you for listening to me and having a cup of coffee with me. Remember to take time to slow down and drink your coffee. Life is a rush, 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 rush. Take time to slow down. Have a great day. See you again soon.